All right, so sit on what is a comfortable height for you to sit in cross legs or virasana, whatever seated pose you use to feel grounded. Feel the feet on the floor or the shins if you're in virasana. Uh-oh, that's my husband. Let me turn that off. Life, so cute. Okay, so sitting up nice and tall, pin your hips in, feel your feet, and then just envision the base kind of solid for a moment. So feel the shape that the legs are in, but then just kind of like pretend that it's more whole, more complete, more firm, more heavy, and that sense of completeness is settled to earth and even like connected into the earth. And then from that, lift up through the trunk and spine. Bring your hands together and close the eyes. So as we stay in this first position, that feeling of the legs grounding can continue and deepen. Open the collarbones, relax the face and the eyes. Relax inside of the mouth. Feel the breath. We'll begin with 1-0. When you're ready, inhale. Bow the head down. Bring your hands down. And then raise your head and open your eyes. Just go ahead and take your legs out and stretch them. Okay, so if you are really comfortable doing Supta Baddha Konasana with nothing, you could just lay down flat and bring the legs in. I'll do it in a moment. But some of us need a little bit of props. So, some of us need something under the head, and some of us need something for the legs. So, a number of you might be pretty comfortable just going right down with nothing. But some of us need that blanket for the head, for the neck. And some of us need either the long rolled blanket for the legs or even one blanket on each side, kind of folded up high, supporting the outer hips. So let's all take the spine flat on the ground and adjust the props accordingly. So if you need something for your neck, make sure you have that little pillow. And then either nothing for the legs, the rolled blanket, or those higher blankets under each outer hip. And then relax your belly. Once you are starting to settle down here, see if you can relax your belly. And then kind of just curl the knees in and roll over. So I'd like to take Vajrasan to warm up the feet and ankles a little bit. So we're going to put a blanket down on the mat. And at first, just see if you could sit back towards your heels. And so I have my hands on the floor and I'm just sitting back, and you know, for some of us this is enough stretch on the foot and the ankle. And those that can sit up can sit all the way up, and some of us that can't sit back like that, possibly you could put a bolster and sit back, the bolster on your heels and sit back. And so if that's not high enough, you can keep adding blankets on this, but don't irritate your knees. And then put your hands back down and see if you can turn your toes under. And at first you can just kind of lean back, keeping your hands on the floor and seeing how your feet are doing. And a few of you might just stay like that. And some of you might sit all the way up, depending, you know, on the knees and the toes. Good, and then let's go back to the first one. Now, if your knees don't allow you to sit back, then if you need to lay onto your back and completely let go of this, then that's fine. You know, you're not to irritate your knees. But those that can, sit either on the heels or on a bolster. And then we're gonna go one more time back to the second foot position. Again, you could leave your hands on the ground or sit back. And let's undo the legs now and let the knees completely straighten. And then it'll be either Virasana seated up as high as you need to be comfortable, or laying on the back and drawing the knees in. So for those of us that cannot tolerate Virasana on account of the knees, you will lay on your back and draw the knees to chest. And the others, I'm going to sit with my back to you for just a sec. If you know Virasana, you can go right ahead and go into it. But those that don't, I've got my feet apart on the sides of the bolster, and then I sit back on the bolster. So you could see I had the bolster the narrow way. That way there's space for the to sit through the feet. Knees are close. Knees are close. So just scoot forward, or push the bolster back so that you can bring your knees close to one another. That's it. And then the others that are reclining, just draw the knees into the chest. Yeah. All right, so let's just do the seated one instead of supta, instead of laying back. So just be in the seated, those that are laying, I'm sorry, I'm not being clear. Those that are not doing Virasana, lay on your back and draw your knees into your chest. Everyone else is seated upright in Virasana. That's the legs folded like this. Okay, so you can lay on your back and draw your knees in if you can't sit like this. Good. Okay, and then feel your shins on the floor. So you want to feel right to left, and you want to maximize as much of the connection of your shin and ankle and foot down into the ground. So you push your knees down, you push your shins down, you push your ankles down, you push your feet down, and try to touch as much as you can the shins into the ground. You feel your legs kind of work differently. The muscles kind of work differently. Chris, looks like your knees are a little wide. Can you bring your knees a little closer to one another? Chris? Yeah, your knees a little closer. Yeah, there you go. That's it. Good. And then interlock your fingers. Extend your arms forward. Keep your shins connected to the ground and then raise the arms up overhead. Do you feel your shins a little bit more? Connect down into the earth with the shins. And then bring your hands back down in front and turn your hands in and change the interlock and stretch again the arms up if you can. But touch the shins. Feel. Make sure you're breathing. Try to lift from your waist. Lift your back ribs up a little. And then reach out. And now let's straighten out the legs. So if you're laying on your back, you can just roll over and sit up. And the others, carefully come forward and extend the legs out. And just let your legs slowly stretch. Good. So we've warmed up the feet a little bit, the ankles and the knees. All right, so then sit up. If you have a bolster, sit on it. If you don't have a bolster, use some folded up blankets. And we're gonna sit in Baddha Konasana. And bring your feet in together. Use your hands to help you sit up. Use your hands and arms to help you sit up. Good. Just like that. Feel your breath. Feel the shape that your legs are in. Sit as tall as you can. And then help your legs with your hands and extend the two legs. All right. So for most of us, we're going to use a chair on the next one. We're going to do a few seated forward bends. If you don't have a chair and you know that you prefer to put your head down on your leg, then you can use the bolster setup. But I would prefer you to use a chair if you could get one. So if you can't get a chair for some reason, then you can use the bolster setup if you know it. But if you can, get yourself a chair. Because I want it to be a more restful type of seated forward bend than a working one. So that's why we would prefer to use the chair. And I'm going to also have a blanket nearby in case I need it for my leg. So the chair is in front of you where you can reach it. And sit on a bolster or a blanket. If you're a little tighter in your hamstrings or in your lower back, you'll be happier up on the bolster. And then let's take the feet a little bit apart and bend the right leg. We're going to do Janu Sirsasana first. So the right leg will bend out to the side. That's where you can take support underneath that knee if you need it. And then bring your chair over your straight leg. If you're not using the chair, you can place the bolster on your straight leg. Feel the two legs. Connect down into the earth with the legs. And then fold your arms and lower your head down onto your arms. Part of this pose is about how your head touches your arms. The forehead should lightly rest. Bring the jaw slightly back and feel that the back of your head and the back of your neck feel long, soft, and then keep your legs connected to the earth and sit yourself back up. And we'll just change now the legs, taking the right leg under the chair and the left leg bent, supporting the left knee if you need it. And at first, don't come forward, just feel your legs. Feel your breath, feel your legs, feel the shape that your legs are in. And then when you feel stable, go ahead and fold and lower the head, but then feel how the head touches. It should have a light touch, and the jaw recedes. The back of the head feels soft, like the skin is flowing from the back skull towards the front. And you're breathing. And continue to feel the legs to earth as you sit back on up. And taking now that bent leg out. Good. We're just going to repeat, when you're ready, the right leg bent. Taking the support necessary so that that right leg is comfortable. Feel connected with the legs to earth. Lower the head down. Feel how the head rests, how the forehead rests, the back of the head soft and broad, jaw receding, breath soft. Legs connected to earth as you rise and change the bent leg. Pause, feeling the legs to earth. And then coming over, keeping the legs stable, lowering head. Observe how the head rests. Back of the head soft, broad, shoulders soft, breath flowing. Rising, legs firm, and straightening out that bent one. Okay, so if your back is hurting right now, you would lay on your back and put your legs bent on the chair. So don't over fatigue your back. So if any point in the seated forward bends, if your back needs a rest, lay down and put your legs on the chair. Otherwise, scooch towards the right side of the bolster or blanket, and then see if you can bring your right leg into Virasana. Now, if you don't do Virasana on the right leg, just repeat Janu Shirsasana. So it's either Virasana or Janu Shirsasana on the right. Ground the legs to earth and lower the head. Observe the soft touch of the head, jaw recedes, back of the head feels soft, broad, shoulders soft. Breath flowing. Connecting legs to earth as you rise. Help the right leg, extend it. Let it straighten, let it stretch. And then we'll go over on the other side of whatever you're seated on. If you can't bend your leg in Virasana, you can take Janu Shirsasana. But those that can, bring the shin down, the foot behind. Settle the legs first, get it stable, and then when you're ready, lower the head. Now, if you're always using the same forearm on top, just switch it every once in a while and let the forehead soften onto the arms or wrists or back of the hand, and broadening the back of the head and shoulders. The front leg, the straight leg shouldn't be turned out. That foot should be straight up. There you go. Observe the breath. And legs to earth as you rise and stretch that right leg. Good. So again, if the back is bothering you, then laying down and putting the legs on the chair. Otherwise, right leg, bend it and take it to the outside of the chair. Left leg, bend it, take it to the outside of the chair into a comfortable wide position, not too wide. Settle legs to earth, toes up. And forward. We're not going to hold it for a long time. Legs to earth. Forehead softly touching. Jaw recedes. Back of the head soft, broad. Shoulders soft. Feel the breath. And then legs to earth as you rise. And now we're all going to lay with the back flat and the legs on the chair. Or the bolster. If you don't have a chair, then you could put the bolster under your knees. But most of you have chairs. Relax your belly. Relax your middle back. Relax your front chest. Relax your face. Let your breath come in a little bit deeper. Both inhale and exhale slightly longer. And we'll take our time, bringing the knees in a little bit more and rolling to the side and coming up to seated. Let's maybe move the chair a little bit out of the way so we feel like we have some space. Okay, so I'd like to move the upper back in a few soft and mobilizing positions that we usually do in the classes, so they'll be familiar to you guys. Let's use first 2 blankets. So most of us like to use a blanket like this underneath the head. It doesn't have to be this height, but it typically works for most people. And then I'm going to take this blanket away that I've been seated on, and I'm going to roll it just a little bit. So I'm folding it by the folded edge, and then I roll it just, Like I start it and roll it just a little bit. It's about almost halfway rolled. I call this the baby roll. It's just this little small roll, and if I don't hold it, it'll unroll. So that I'm holding it as I turn. I leave my knees bent. As I lay back, trying to aim my shoulder blade area for that roll, and then the other blanket for my head, I gotta slide it underneath my neck and my head, and then the arms go out. Take a breath and just see if you can let that upper back start to curve over that roll. If your neck is bothering you, then you need a higher blanket under the head. If the lower back is bothering you, possibly take the roll lower or unroll it a little bit so it's not quite so high. Or sometimes we need to add a little bit of a blanket under the hips for some of us, if the lower back is bothering you. Most of you are fine there. So just letting your breath start to feel your breath coming in and out so that you can start softening over the roll with this idea of letting the upper back muscles start to relax. And as the breath just kind of comes in and out, and you're allowing for that relaxation softly down on the roll. The legs at this point are optional. Some of you are going to stay with the bent knee to protect the lower back. That's fine. Some of you like to go out into straight legs or Baddha Konasana or cross legs. But just, if the low back starts to get uncomfortable, you bend the knees again. If for some reason you need to come out of this, you just roll over to your side. That's fine at any point. And those that are comfortable here, maybe try taking your arms over your head. Keep breathing. That can change it quite a bit if the arms went over. Relax the jaw. Let it recede. And then bringing the arms down and bending the knees if they're out and taking, rolling over to the side, taking your time. Okay, so you guys can just kind of keep coming out of it when you're ready, and then maybe you'll repeat this one again if you feel like that one is a good level of intensity for you. Maybe you just repeat that one, or possibly take the bolster. And let me just do this real fast. So when I go over the bolster, I don't sit right next to it. I still have a little bit of space. My knees are bent. I recline. And then for me, it feels like the height of the blanket is a little bit high when I'm using the bolster, so I take it away. But that might not be the same for you. So you might want to leave it there to start. Bend your knees, lay back when you're ready, adjust the height of your head so that your neck is comfortable. And then if you can, take your arms out. Oh, the hips are still on the floor though. The hips are on the floor in this. So don't let your hips come up. When you lay back over the bolster, your hips stay on the floor. So you don't touch the bolster when you're starting. You kind of have to sit away from it. Arms go out. Arms go out at the sides, like airplane wings. Yeah, let them go out, the arms. Let them go out. There you go. Now, if your neck is not comfortable, you need more height under your head. Legs are optional. They could go cross legs, they could go straight, they could go to Baddha Konasana. And either sit all the way up or roll over to come out of it. Either sit all the way up or roll over. And then turn the bolster, add a blanket on it, and we're gonna lay back again, but this time the bolster is gonna run along the full length of the spine. Again, don't touch it when you're sitting back. You wanna sit in front of it at least 3-4 inches. Knees are bent as you recline. And then the legs, optional. Baddha Konasana, cross legs, straight legs, optional legs. So the spine is now resting on the full length of that bolster. Leg position optional. Head higher than the heart. Head is up on a blanket. Receive the jaw. Feel the breath. It's okay to change your leg position as you desire. It's fine. So if you want to go straight and then bend them, it's fine. Just whatever feels comfortable. Envision the back of the skull, soft, broad, just like we did in the seated forward bends. Now, if for some reason you need to come out of the pose if your back for some reason needs you to come up, you can always roll over and sit up if you need to. But most of you, I think, are going to be pretty comfortable. So I'm going to talk you through a few hand movements. You don't really even need to look over at the screen. You could just leave your eyes closed and listen. Place the heels of your hands on your forehead and let the fingers rest on the top of the head. So your elbows are bent and slightly towards the ceiling. And it's not a heavy hand, it's just lightly resting. Heels of your hands on your forehead. And then the fingertips are lightly touching onto the top of your head. Relax your jaw, relax your eyes. And then the heels of your hands just softly go straight towards the floor. And it's not a lot, it's just soft. When you do that, let the back of your head release so that it flows from the back skull towards the top of your head, just like you did in the seated forward bends. Feel your breath. And then bring your hands down, arms down, and rest.
And then the next position will be using the tips of your fingers and the tip of your thumbs. Place the fingertips on your cheekbones and the tips of your thumbs on the kind of bottom edge of your cheekbones. So your hands are in like a little cup shape, and it's just the tips of your fingers and the tips of your thumbs. And then at first, just push straight down onto your cheekbones and breathe, and see if you can feel the breath in the right and left sinus. And keeping now that slight pressure on with the fingertips and the thumb tips, broaden across the cheekbones. Don't slide your fingers across your skin, but just broaden and still feel the breath in right and left sinus. Take a couple breaths and then let go, relaxing the hands and arms to the sides, resting, softening. And then the final one, we are going to slide. Take your thumbs on the bottom of your chin, on the jawbone, and get right on the bone. And then take your thumbs and slide them to the end of your jaw, the hinge of the jaw, and let it go up the hinge kind of towards the bottom part of your ear, and then let go and do it again. So you get right on the bone by the chin at the front of the jaw, and just slide to the hinge kind of by the ear and go slightly up, and then let go and do it one more time. Breathe, and then relax your hands all the way down. Arms down, hands down. And then we're going to take our time rolling over to the side and pressing toward
the floor to sit up. And then sit comfortably. So I forgot that the two here are wearing masks. So the last one probably didn't work when you have masks on, but the other ones you can do. So I'm just going to have you guys sit and watch now while you're upright, and I'm going to just do it seated upright. And I think I'm just going to move a little bit closer because you don't really need to see anything except for my face and head. So the first one is this, where the heel of the hand touches the forehead, and then the fingers just lightly rest on the top of the head. And then when I give a little bit of pressure on the forehead down, it just should feel like the back of the head goes this way. So from the base of the skull towards the top, like that. So I lightly press, and there's just a soft release on the back skull that way. So hopefully that was making sense in correlation with the seated forward bends that we did before. And then the second one is the tips of the fingers and the tips of the thumbs, and it's kind of like a little cup shape I'm making with my hands and thumbs. The thumb kind of goes on the bottom of the cheekbone, and then the fingertips are kind of running a little bit under the eye socket and on the top of the cheekbone. And then the first thing is just to put a little bit of pressure, and then as you're breathing through right and left sinus and you're feeling, you don't slide across your skin, but you just pull out. And you continue that breath. So that's number 2. And then the third one, with the two that have the masks on, that's going to be a little difficult to do. But I use my thumb tips, and I start on the chin, on the bone, the jaw bone. I give a little pressure, and then I slide. I go right out to the hinge and slightly up. So I go from the front, I slide, and then I go right out to the hand and slightly up, and then 3 times. Okay, so the people in San Diego, we're having the Santa Ana, and it's hot. And these are real good for that air quality, the conditions of the air quality that we're having today, for those that are in San Diego. I teach this every once in a while. Some of you are going to be pretty familiar with it, but I think it's a really helpful one for me to do. So let's do it one more time, but I want you to, now this time I want you to do it laying flat. Okay, so we did it with the elevated chest. Come back down into a comfortable reclining position for you. So for some of you, that might mean legs on the chair. For some of you, that might mean a bolster underneath the knees. Some of you are just gonna lay down flat and maybe a pillow underneath the head. But go ahead and recline. And first, you're just gonna lay for a few moments and get, you know, the relaxation of your back down to the ground. Allowing the legs to rest, position of the head comfortable, position of the neck comfortable. Yeah, relaxing the legs, relax the jaw, allow the jaw to recede, and just even here, see if the subtle body, the energy on the back of your skull, if you can let it flow softly away from shoulders. So it doesn't have to be a big movement. Yeah. And then I'm going to watch this time, just so, you know, I'm sitting up, but you guys can be laying down. Bring the heels of the hands onto the forehead. Allow the fingers to just drape onto the top of the head and soften your fingers a little bit when you do that. There shouldn't be pressure. There should not be pressure on the eyes when you're doing this. The heel of the hand is a little bit above the eyebrow. And then the pressure is soft and it's just straight down to the earth. And when you do that, allow the back of your skull to flow away from the shoulders, jaw recedes. And we're just gonna have a few breaths here. You could already start feeling the rhythm of the breath in the right and left sinus. Although the sensation is mostly on the back of the head with this one. And then bringing tips of fingers and tips of thumb to cheekbones. Yeah, just takes a moment to kind of get the position of all of the fingertips and the touch of the thumb as well. And then at first, the pressure is just down. It doesn't have to be a lot. You know, you're just kind of slightly pressing and then feeling the breath in the sinus right to left. And then broadening across, and you just notice how that feels on the sinus right to left as you're breathing. Recede the jaw a little bit, just see if you can kind of feel that. And then we're going to go to the jawbone. So your tips of thumbs come onto the bottom of the chin, right on the bone. And just see if you can slide along the bone to the hinge, and then it goes slightly up and then releasing. And it's just the jaw, just the thumbs onto that jawbone. We're gonna do it 3 times. So at your pace, you do your second one. Try to relax your jaw, just feel your breath. And then your pace, do your third one. And then when you're ready, you could just let your hands rest down. Arms, hands, rest. Breathing, feeling the breath, relaxing the jaw, letting it recede, feeling that soft length on the back skull.
right, so maybe listen, because not everyone likes the next pose. It doesn't work for the back for everyone. So the next pose is going to be Viparita Karani with a bolster underneath the hips and the legs up the wall. And so if that's a not great pose for your back, you could maybe just stay in the one you're in. And so those that are ready to come to Viparita Karani can slowly bend the knees, rolling over, get yourself close to the wall with the bolster at your side. When you take your legs up, lift your hips and slide the bolster under your sacrum. And then those that are not taking Viparita Karani for any reason, maybe just stay in the one you're in. So that taking your time, getting close to the wall, and let's do it, the ones that are going up the wall with the legs, let's do it with the hips higher than the heart. So we're gonna take a few moments to get that set up where you can elevate the hips, the sacrum, yes, like that, like you're doing. And then it does take a moment to wiggle in and get the legs right up to the wall, those that are using the wall. I know some of you are using chairs, and that's a really fine way to do it. It's quite nice with the legs on the chair if you don't have the access to the wall. And those that are using the wall, take your time wiggling in and getting yourself as close as you can with the backs of your legs up the wall. I'm going to do it too, just here for a moment. And now that you're there, just envision across the back of your head, that soft release, and the front of the face, without actually using your hands. See if you can feel the memory, the energy of the heels of your hands on your forehead, the tips of the fingers on your cheekbones, the breath right and left in the sinus, and the feeling of the jaw receding, and just recreate the energy, the feel of those movements that you did with your hands on the front of the face. Soften the belly. Relax the legs, relax the feet. Now let's bend the knees and lower the back. You could either slide down by pushing away from the wall, or you can lift your hips up and pull the bolster out. And then just take your time coming up to seated. So I know that you guys are muted. Everyone that's on the computer, I know you're muted. But when you just envision the feeling of the forehead and the fingertips on the cheekbones and the feeling of the thumbs running along the jaw, did you have any sort of impression from it? So when we physically do the adjustment, it has an effect. But even just remembering it in the subtle body, there's an effect. It's interesting. I could feel it for sure, just the memory of it. And I know that you guys can't respond, but I'd be curious if you also had that sensation. So my point of that is that the position that we hold our face in affects our the way we feel. So sometimes it's just as simple as changing slightly the position of your face to affect your mood a little bit. And so once you kind of start noticing the position of the face, you can kind of make these really easy little adjustments, and you might have a little, be able to affect your mood slightly with just that small thing. One of the things my teachers would say is just to let the edges of your mouth just slightly lift, just a tiny bit. It's amazing. So that one's pretty easy to do. Sometimes I do it when I'm driving, but you don't want to get too distracted with it. So, all right. So then the next position, I'm going to show a few alternatives, because I know some of you, your backs are maybe like not real happy today. So we want to find the position that's going to be the most comfortable for your back. And so I'm going to give you some options. The people whose lower back is feeling quite stable and comfortable and happy, I'm going to start with that one. I'm going to open up a blanket so that I can easily get out of the pose. I'm going to use a bolster as where it is. I'll sit on the bolster. So this is that supported Setu Bandha that I teach regularly in this class. I turn so that I can recline with my legs bent, lowering head, shoulders to ground, either staying with legs here, or after a few moments, the legs might rest out, or possibly a few of you are going to go to Baddha Konasana. Now, if you're not doing this one, I would suggest perhaps Supta Baddha Konasana if that is like a favorite for your back. So I'm going to show that one next. But it should be one that you know that your back likes. So if you're not so sure about that reclining one, then maybe this one, the kind of classic Supta Baddha Konasana, is better. So those that are doing Setu Bandha, take your time, laying back on your bolster, allowing head, shoulders on the floor. You could stay there with your knees bent for a good long time, tucking the shoulders down, getting that positioning of the shoulder first. And then if that one's not a favorite, then I suggest the Supta Baddha Konasana, the classic
Supta Baddha Konasana because it's a little easier on the back. So that everyone is in a comfortable position for the low back right now. And those that are doing supported Setu Bandha, your leg position, it's optional. You can go out into that resting straight leg. You could go into the Baddha Konasana with your feet up on the bolster. And you can vary the leg position too. So sometimes my back just wants a little bit of movement in this one, so that's fine too. And then now that we've been there and everyone's settled in, just see if you can allow for that feeling on the front of the face to rest back and the back of the head to softly release. And it extends from the base of the skull to the top, but don't push. Just let it feel like it actually is releasing. Allow the breath to be easy and just envision that feeling of your tips of fingers on your cheekbones and that broadening feeling, and just feel, what does it feel like when you're breathing like that, when you're just envisioning it? What does it feel like when you envision the heels of the hands softly resting on the forehead? What happens inside of your eyes? What happens inside of your head? What happens to your mood, your feeling? Let the outer corners of your mouth fall slightly towards the floor. And what's that feel like? It's not a push, there's no pushing. It's very subtle. And just observing, how are you affected with that small movement at the corners of the mouth? And then if the legs are out, go ahead and bend them and just rest there for a moment. I always feel like my back does better if I pause in this one before I come out of it. So I just feel my feet on the ground, a little bit of affirming in the belly, and then lower your back. So if you can, slide towards your head. That's the safest thing for your low back. If you can't manage that, you can either shove the bolster away or roll over, but just take your time. If you're in Supta Baddha Konasana, just roll over, because you don't have to come down in the same way that the others. Yeah. Okay. So we're going to do one really mild twist for the back, and then we're going to lay down. So I'm definitely keeping the class very easy today because of the heat. It's just been hot, and it's fatiguing when it's hot like this. So let's sit with the legs straight forward. And I've put my bolster on my right side. If you could do that, it's just a little easier for the directions. And so the bolster is going out perpendicular from my hip. And then the leg that's away from the bolster, the left one, I'm going to bend it back, kind of like Virasana, doesn't have to be perfect. But turn towards the pillow
and get on the outside of your right leg if you can. Kind of lift yourself up, get on the outer leg. And then when you lay on the pillow, just make it comfortable. So you might have to adjust your legs a little bit, your ribs a little bit, and certainly your face. You know, sometimes we need another blanket under the head for the neck. So you could take that. Relax your arms. Relax your legs, your feet. Pressing with your hands. One up. Take that bent leg out. When you're ready, taking the pillow over on the other side. Bending the leg that's away from the pillow back. Roll to the outside of the straighter leg and lay down, adjusting the legs. Let them really relax. Let them slide and shift. Relax the feet, the arms. Get the ribs comfortable. That's it. You got it. And then just really relax your legs. So if they want to kind of move, let them. And press with the arms. Come up. So we're going to do preparation for deep breathing. Most of you are going to recline on the bolster for supported Shavasana, but not everyone, because I really want your back comfortable. So Karen, I think you're better off laying flat. And anyone else who feels that the lower back is not really restful in this, lay flat instead. So those, I only want you, so in this supported Shavasana, if you're really comfortable through your back. Okay, so recline either completely flat or elevated on the bolster. And then the first few moments, we're gonna be in Shavasana, relaxing the arms and legs. I'm gonna sit up because it's easier, it's better for me to be able to talk when I'm seated. But you guys can stay laying back
in your shavasana. So say you lay yourself down on your support and you're good for the first few minutes, but you need to change it at some point, that's fine. Don't worry. So we're just gonna have these first moments here, really relaxing the legs and the feet, arms and hands, letting go. And then just remember that extension on the back of the head, what that feels like. Eyes recede, forehead recedes. You can feel the tips of your fingers on your cheekbones and the broadening, and the breath flowing through right and left sinus. Relax the jaw, the tongue. Letting go across the face, that feeling of the face just resting back. Relax the throat, chest, and belly. Letting go into the bolster or into the earth, just softening, releasing. And then feeling natural breath. At first, just starting to get a sense of the natural inhale coming in, a natural exhale going out, kind of measuring it a little bit, but then just really relaxing. So you're not being too intellectual about it. You're just feeling, okay, natural inhale, natural exhale, just kind of getting a sense of it, the harmony of the breath, the rhythm. And then deeply softening at the same time. And the first thing we're going to do with the breath is just allowing the exhalation to go a little bit longer. So make it really easy. The inhale remains normal, and the exhale breath is just slightly longer, very soft. You still want to really let go with the body. Just the exhales, smooth, steady, slightly longer. Inhales are normal. We're going to keep it easy and light today. We're just going to do a few cycles like this. And then that exhale, let it out. It's that long exhale, just let it out, and then go to normal breathing, normal inhale, normal exhale. Really relax, relax, release. Let it go, relax the mouth, jaw. And the second movement of the breath is the opposite. Only the inhale will have extension. So when you're ready, it's a normal exhale. And then the next inhale breath is slightly longer, slightly deeper. Try to stay very soft, open. And then when you exhale, it's your normal exhale. The next inhalation breath, again, is just slightly longer than your normal inhale breath. Doesn't have to be anything perfect. Just allowing for that slightly longer inhale breath to come in. And then the exhale is normal. And we're going to keep going just a few cycles like this. Look to relax as much as you can. Arms, legs, face, throat. Letting go. The transition from this one is a little different. Allow your exhalation breath to slowly extend over the cycle of maybe 3 or 4 breaths. Allow the exhalation to get a little bit longer so that you'll end up in a smooth, steady, slightly longer inhale, a smooth, steady, slightly longer exhale breath. And you'll just let that harmony come over the cycle of a few breaths to a long, smooth inhale, a long, smooth exhale, letting go. Let it be really easy. Relax the throat, relax the eyes. Let loose, so you're just extending in a really easy fashion the in-breath and the out-breath. We call this preparation for deep breathing. And then complete the cycle, empty out that exhale, and then go to normal breathing. Just take your time, let it just drop out of you to a normal breath. Let go. A few cycles of normal breathing, just kind of feeling the effects of your preparation for deep breathing. And then if you are laying up on the bolster for your chest, take that away and lay flat. So we're just going to lay down flat for a few minutes in a really easy shavasana. Doesn't have to be anything perfect, just let it be where you lay down. Arms and legs can just do whatever, it doesn't have to be anything perfect, just let your back recline on the ground and let go. Sort of see how you feel. Relax the legs, eyes. And then carefully begin rolling over to your side. So take your time. Some of you might feel like you're ready to be on the side and make your way to seated. If you're not ready, just take your time. You can stay on your side for as long as your body needs. And then little by little, your rhythm, your timing, come up to a seated position when you're ready. With the kind of class that we did today, where we kind of really took it easy, I feel like it's important to gather yourself a little bit before you go off on the rest of your day. So just take a moment where you feel like your energy softly comes towards you. And it's really just sort of a gathering of yourself for yourself. Namaste. Thank you for being here.